going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. And we said it at the end of the the pre-game show for Ravens versus Bills, but hopefully the next time we saw you, Ravens would be evened out 2-2. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there's a better possible start to a game you could have than in what I had talked to people in the offseason. I've talked to non-Ravens fans, and they've told me they think the Ravens all-black uniform is I've been told it's the second best all-black uniform or dark uniform of all time. I would agree with this. And the take was that the old Falcons one with the black helmet was number one. And I don't mind that take. But then when Derrick Henry went to Baltimore, it was like, oh my gosh, Derrick Henry in the all black is going to be fabulous. Like, it's just going to look so cool. The aesthetic, everything is going to match up. And I'm watching this game. I'm like, oh yeah, there he is. Ravens run power to the right or wham to the right. Patrick Carr kicks out or swings back in, gets that big block, Mark Andrews big block. And we all know about the speed. We can't believe the speed, but Derrick Henry does not get caught from behind and takes 87 yards on the first play on offense. Joshua, what was going through your head at that moment? Just that part of the game, that first play on offense, and we take it to the house. What were you thinking?
Man, I was taking it all in at that point. Like, it's been a long time since we've seen somebody, as far as running back wise, make a long run of that stature. I think the longest has been Jamal Lewis and also our fullback, LaRon McClain. And I think that may have been against the Dallas Cowboys when every running back was down and he took over.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be right.
I think that was the game.
Okay. All right then. He had a hell of a game then. So, I mean, to see a guy that's still in his prime, to see a guy, that can add to, this strong offense, I loved it. I mean, I guess because the Ravens have had me in, I wouldn't say in heart attack mode, but in not rest easy mode, it was hard to be excited for that long run. I was excited. I just didn't have no emotion. It was like, well, damn, this is how we starting off. When we get the ball, okay, all right. Let everything just settle in. So, I mean, to see him put on a show like that in that all black uniform in Baltimore versus seeing it in a Tennessee Titans jersey or going against it, hey man, I love that we was able to make the move and get him here, and that signing like is paying dividends every time we see him get those touches.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when he takes off like that, my thought process is just like, it just amazes me that it took the Ravens so long to go for a running back like that. And no disrespect to J.K. Dobbins, because he's a baller. We all love J.K. Dobbins. One thing J.K. Dobbins is not, though, is a home run hitter. He gets caught from behind a lot. Really, the only Ravens home run hitter they've ever had under Lamar Jackson was Keaton Mitchell, who they had last year. And can't wait for that to come back, because that trio of running backs, spectacular. But really, it's just not even just, the Ravens got a running back. It's like the Ravens got someone where now Lamar doesn't have to play perfect every game. Now, in the playoffs, you got to play good to win, right? But in games, now, Lamar played a fantastic game. I'm not trying to say that he didn't. But to have a running back that is as good as Derrick Henry, that you can give the rock as much as you can give to Derrick Henry, it is just a huge weight lifted. Because also, in the last 2 weeks, the Ravens have drastically shifted what they are doing on offense. I think that Cowboys game, or after the Raiders game, and, there were those comments like, we didn't bring Derrick Henry here to give him the ball every play. I think that over the last couple of weeks, we're starting to realize that the coaching staff is like, yo, we should feed Derrick Henry. But at the same time, the benefit the Ravens have, that honestly, I don't think Derrick Henry has ever had, unless you want to go back to what the Titans called exotic smash mouth football, but a backup running back as good as Derrick Henry has, right? Back in Tennessee, it was the the wombo combo of Murray and Derrick Henry, but that was like his rookie year, so I don't even really count that. But Justice Hill is like he is flourishing. It's crazy to see how much of an impact Derrick Henry has on defenses. We all knew it would happen, but Derrick Henry is so physical, so strong that he's going to fall forward and all of these things happen. And then all of a sudden you just bring in Justice Hill and you throw him a quick screen. You check it down to him in the flats. You run a draw. And Justice Hill looks like every time he's getting the ball, he's shooting out of a cannon. He's making explosive plays. And Joshua, we talked about this when he first got on the team. Now he's going north to south. He is getting upfield as soon as possible. He's no longer the guy that's just jumping back and forth. It's like, see forward, go forward. Like that is Justice Hill, and it is working. And this Ravens running attack is, honestly, I think it's probably the best the NFL has ever seen. I don't even think it's close because the Ravens are the ones that set the record for rushing yards in a season. Like the Ravens hold that record. And this is a way better rushing attack than they had back in, I think it was 2019 was the record year. Like this is unbelievable. Was there anything else about the running game, Joshua, that you want to talk about?
Listen, it took Justice Hill 5-6 years to finally get it going. But hey, man, listen, I love the fact that he's getting it going. I think that he realized he's taking advantage of the opportunity. I think we all know that Keaton Mitchell is a faster guy. I think we all know that Keaton Mitchell is the more stronger, compact guy as well. And he is also a home run hitter as well, in my opinion, when given the blocks and using his speed and using his agility. I truly feel like, Justice Hill is taking advantage of his opportunity and he's flourishing. He's showing that he can be, maybe possibly a number one guy in somebody's offense. Who knows? We don't know how the season may prolong. Shout out to Tyler Beatty, being able to, move and things around, move and everything. I heard he had a very serious injury this past Sunday. This could be Justice Hill time of showcasing his abilities to the whole league. Because, yes, we did the contract extension, but sometimes you got to look at the bigger picture. I know everybody talking about, trademark Andrews. Lamar Jackson told y'all to shut that up, respectfully. That's his guy. And, whether he's 100%, 50%, he's still going to rock with him. And I got to respect that. But see how Justice Hill has emerged from just a special teams guy to actually playing another intricate piece on the offense. It's beautiful. And shout out to the offensive line too. I think that's something that we really need to talk about. I think Sunday night proves my case of Makari being an interior offensive lineman. It just fits him better. It fits his mold. He's more nasty. He's more gruesome. Shout out to Rosengarten as well. Getting his first rookie start. He definitely held his own. I think that whole line, as far as pressures, we had zero. Whether it was because we ran the ball so much or however the case they may see it, that group of linemen did their job. So shout out to them. And they even ran it to the right side. So we can't even say, Daniel didn't even look good because he was doing what he needed to do as far as run plays and things of that nature. So, that was definitely a team collective effort. Shout out to the big boys in front, protecting those guys and making those guys look good.
Yeah, and that offensive line was fantastic against a good Bills defensive front, right? Von Miller, who apparently was on PEDs, he just got suspended for 4 games. So, still couldn't stop Lamar. But, this Ravens offensive line was just moving everybody. And it's not just the offensive line. Huge credit to the leaps that Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar have taken as blockers. They are absolutely mauling people every game. And I know a lot of people are frustrated with Mark Andrews. I'm a little bit frustrated with Mark Andrews. He's had some drops that have definitely hurt the team. But to go out there and say he's playing poorly, I don't think he's playing poorly. I think he's playing fantastic football. He's just not playing fantastic fantasy football, right? Like, he's not getting catches, yards, and touchdowns, but he's doing things that the Ravens need, and he is just blocking out there like one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. He is hitting linebackers, he is hitting edge rushers, he is hitting safeties. I think I would argue he was the most important block on that Derrick Henry 87-yard touchdown run. He went out there and hit the safety that cleared the hole the entire way. But this team and these linemen and blockers are really showing other teams that the physical style of the AFC North, of the Baltimore Ravens, I think it's coming back because Rosengarten didn't look scared. Voorhees, we know, is very physical. Obviously didn't play in this game. But I think they're also using Faalele in a way where it's no longer about him just being finesse. They're just saying block the man in front of you and push him back. Like, that's how we're going to run the football. We're not going to try and have him swing. We're not going to have him try and move and get out there because we realized he couldn't do that. We tried that the first couple times. He was a little bit too slow. And the Ravens said, hey, let's do it simple. If we're going to do a wham, we're going to have it from Patrick Ricard. We're not going to run trap and have Faalele, the one cutting across the center. We'll have a tight end or a fullback be the one that comes back across to allow these bigger run plays. But I love that the Ravens are sticking to the run. I got scared when the second half started and we didn't call a run play on the first 3 plays, which I think the first play they had a penalty on or they got sacked. And so it's like second and long. So obviously it wasn't like prime running opportunities, but it was just like, we're not running the ball. And then the Bills scored and it was like, But the Ravens were able to right the ship. And I think that's credit to the veterans on this team to be able to go out there and say, like, hey, guys, we're going to keep doing it, right? Lamar Jackson had a moment where he was talking to the offensive lineman and basically telling them, like, hey, we got to step it up, all right? And then they did. They have a big drive. They score a touchdown, and Lamar goes back over to them, and he's like, every time. Let's do that every time because he knows that if they have those good blocks, the Baltimore Ravens are a scary team to try and stop. And Todd Monken. I have not been the biggest supporter of Todd Monken, but I think this is back-to-back games that I think he called very, very well. And I'm loving the new additions that we're seeing with the Lamar Jackson draws. But they're doing it where it's not just a standard QB draw where they drop back. It's Lamar Jackson, pump fake screen, and then Lamar Jackson goes up the middle. And so it's just eye candy because the Ravens do run a lot of screens, but it feels like they're being a lot more effective with their screens with the way that they're kind of tricking people into thinking, oh, maybe this one's a run, and then they throw the screen, or hey, it's a screen to the right, and all of a sudden Lamar Jackson throws the screen to the left. It just feels like defenses never know what the Ravens are trying to do, which is new. Sadly, it's new. For this team is, hey, they're surprising teams, but not surprising. Like, oh man, they're running the ball. I thought they throw. It's like they know we're gonna run, but they're still
don't know how we gonna run it.
Exactly. It's like oh, it's third and 12.
Yeah,
80% chance they're throwing a screen pass, right? And they're covering the screens, but it's so well designed to where all of a sudden. It's like Justice Hill still catches an open screen, and the blocks are so good that he just shoots up the field. It's really nice how well it's coming together, and that's again the blocking from the receivers and the just quick decision making from Lamar is really helping this team.
Yeah, I'm about to say, shout out to Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's what is this, year 8 for him?
I think it's year 7, 2018,
okay.
but really 6th year as a starter.
So, seeing him, be the starter, for 6 years, and him every time we see him constantly taking this game to another level. I mean, he's been, whether people accept it or not, whether the league accept it or not, he's been the face of this team. He's the franchise quarterback. I mean, he's been doing the damn thing his own way, his own style. He's not no cookie cutter type of guy. He's Lamar Jackson. But I will say this. I love the way he's taken over. I love the way he's shown that leadership. It truly shows that whoever comes in this building is willing to play with him and will do anything for him. And those are the type of guys you need around him. Granted, no, we don't have the flashiest of pieces as far as wide receiver talent. That's cool. They're now, I can truly say this from the offensive coordinators that he has played under, and this might be a stretch, Todd Monken is having a more crisp running tree for those guys. Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. He's holding on. He's holding on like Mitchell Robinson right now. Um, he's holding on like Mitchell Robinson right now. So I mean, to see him to constantly elevate his game, whether it's his throwing ability, whether his way of dissecting the defense, but now just seeing him just take on that more vocal role, which I feel like you really need. And I mean, when you got Goats passing the torch on to him, telling him that he's next, I think I feel like he was already confident within himself. I feel like he knew that he is willing to bring a Super Bowl here to Baltimore. I feel like he loved this place like a second home to him and everything of that nature. But I feel like he's truly embraced the culture of the city. He's truly embraces the team. I mean, granted, not all his guys got to work out with him, nor did he get to work out with all his guys over the summer. But I mean, they're coming together. And shout out to Rashad Bateman. I think we talked about it in the pregame show about, he thought he was there. And once they clean it up, you start seeing him being more available. Rashad Bateman is truly coming into his own. I knock on wood. Hope he stay healthy throughout the whole season. I feel like this is – and the funny thing about it is during the stretch, it's supposed to be the run game that wins you games. McConnell with it, this is the other way around. We done ran the ball so damn much against teams that they're planning for it, that the damn pass is going to be set up in a way. Because I don't even think Zay Flowers got that many targets this game. But do understand that when Zay, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, when Mark Andrews is more confident in his catching ability, it's a little off right now, but he still is giving valuable minutes, whether it's blocking, whether it's just being a decoy, whatever the case may be. He is still considered a threat on the field when he's on the field. That passing game might be able to take us to that next step, that next leap of getting us into the Super Bowl, which is it's crazy to say. We built off on a run, but right now, this locomotive in Baltimore is starting to pick up early, which we like to see. And we know teams are going to start planning to try to defend the run. But if Lamar Jackson keeps on doing what he's doing, and his receivers are in tune with one another, this is going to be the most balanced offense that we've seen under him, with him being the starting QB, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this team is like when we watch the first half, it's just run, just like with the Cowboys game, right? And it's working. Like they'll spring in a little bit of play action and everything like that, but they're running the ball down the other team's throat. And when you think about it, like if you hold a Derrick Henry run to 3 yards, teams are generally going to be happy. 2 yards, they're ecstatic, right? Like, oh yeah, we did a good job. And all of a sudden it gets the Ravens, but the Ravens they're staying on schedule, right? Their third downs in this game felt like, not every time, but it felt like a lot of them, you're just sitting at 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. And those are situations where against the Ravens, more than any other team, that's when you're terrified, because then you're like, okay, well, we might have to spy Lamar. We're going to have to do all these different things to try and stop him and get 5 yards. And all of a sudden, if the Ravens do pick it up, the teams are demoralized, because all of a sudden they're like, damn, now we got to stop Derrick Henry again. like just getting the Ravens to 3rd down seems to be a struggle for teams. And when they do start stacking that box more and more, what's nice about this run game is it's not just inside runs. We're seeing these pitches to Derrick Henry. We're seeing these off tackle runs, these stretches that are getting away from the teeth of the defense, getting away from those linebackers. And generally, when teams do that, it's like, okay, we have a decent chance because now we're not trying to just get through offensive linemen to tackle the running back. Hey, we beat this wide receiver, we beat this tight end. That's a lot easier to shed. Like they're not beating the tight ends, they're not beating the receivers because they are very good blockers, and that is just hurting teams even more. And then all of a sudden, you'll see a guy like Ronnie Stanley running down the field, or what I think Voorhees will be the full starter at left guard, but he can move. Linderbaum can move for sure. So like the Ravens linemen, it's not that they're just winning at the line of scrimmage. They're getting to the point of attack. They're getting downfield and making crucial blocks 5 yards down the field. We're seeing it all the time where
Linderbaum. Shout out to Linderbaum. He took out somebody Sunday night up the damn field. I loved it.
Like it's just such a devastating run game to attack because who do you stop? Like every game of Lamar Jackson's career, it's always been stop Lamar. And every game of Derrick Henry's career, it's always been stop Derrick Henry. And now you pair them together and you're like, oh, anytime Lamar Jackson is handing the ball off to Derrick Henry, he could just keep it. How many times have we seen plays where the entire defense is fooled and it's not a 50-yard touchdown, right? But we get 10 to 15 yards on a Lamar Jackson keep. We did it to ice the game against the Cowboys. We did it for a touchdown for about 15 yards for the second or third touchdown of the game against the Bills, where you're just seeing Lamar Jackson. Everyone thinks Lamar is handing it off because he's handed it off so many times in a row. Lamar only ran the ball 6 times in this game. But every time the Ravens were dropping back to pass or, looking like they were going to hand it off, I'm still thinking Lamar's going to keep it. And I think that's in some of these defenders' heads because, coaches know, like the thought process has always been like, don't sell out on the running back, sell out on Lamar. Because, Latavius Murray at age 31 isn't going to beat you. Like, oh, if Latavius goes for 7 yards, like I'm not that worried about it. But now it's, Derrick Henry, because the middle linebacker was spying Lamar, stepped outside of the box. Now Derrick Henry is a full head of steam and he's 5 yards down the field. And he stiff arms one guy and all of a sudden he's, tackled for a 15-yard run. We're seeing that happen almost every drive where it is just working. And the passing game down the field has been very good. We've had some drops. Mark Andrews had a drop, but, we see Isaiah Likely, for I think it was like a 20-yard reception, 26-yard reception. Like Lamar is just attacking the middle of the field. He's attacking that 15 to 25-yard range. And Joshua, you brought up Bateman. Lamar hit Bateman down the field. Bateman made a great catch. And then Bateman drew I think it was a defensive holding. Or it was, they were at like the 4-yard line, but he drew a flag in the end zone. He didn't catch the touchdown, but at the same time, he drew the flag, which is really the important part. Like, that's not an easy catch to make. If you look at the screenshot, it looks like an easy one, but he is completely torquing his body to get away from that contact, ends up dropping it, but the Ravens score a touchdown off of it because he gave him a new set of downs at like, I can't remember if they got it at the 1 or the 2 because of half the distance to the goal. But like Bateman is starting to turn into a playmaker, and this offense is just rolling without their 2 biggest pass catchers being like massive parts of the offense. Like Mark Andrews and Zay aren't really getting that involved. So kind of my last question on the offense, Joshua, is if you're the Ravens, do you put more of an emphasis on getting them the ball? And if so, how should we try and get them the ball? Because Zay, obviously, we can throw a bunch of screens to him, but is that going to help the offense much?
Oh, man, that's the difficult question. I think at this point, you don't go away from what's winning you games. You still implement it, you still use it, but know when to overly use it. It has to be situational. It has to be situational. It has to be one of those games where the defense, where your opposing defense is constantly just planning to stop and run. My whole plan, uh, for my Friday night football game with my guys is to make the opposing team offense beat me with their run game. I mean, excuse me, with their pass game. They run a pro set shotgun formation and a pistol set, and I see what they're trying to do. I'm gonna have my guy. If I'm the opposing defense, I'm playing smash mouth football, a mano. I'm trying to knock Derrick Henry out. I'm trying to make him want to, hey, yo, I need to take a couple breaks. So I mean, with that being said, I say keep it situational, over knowing when to overly use it and exploit, those defenses. I don't think you need to start trying to be like Kansas City. We're not them. Our DNA, the Ravens' genetic makeup is a different type of genetic makeup. We're built on ground and pound, smash mouth football, linebackers hit you in the mouth, edge rushers getting up the field, throwing the QBs around, stuff like that. We play hard nosed AFC North football. Like I said, this is possibly a setup where we could be passing the ball, leading all the way up to the playoffs. But right now, y'all getting this train moving. Y'all putting a lot of coal behind in there, and that train is moving. It's getting hot, and it's about to start rolling. And once it start rolling and get to going, I don't think it can be stopped. So right now, don't go away from what's getting us wins.
Yeah, our offense has been very, very good, especially these last 2 weeks. And we talk about AFC North football. We talk about Baltimore Ravens football, right? Running the ball and being extremely physical. That's a check. The other half of it is defense. And my goodness, is this Ravens defense good? We are fully healthy on defense, or almost fully healthy. I think the main starters are healthy, knock on wood. But Nate Wiggins was out there. Nate Wiggins looked terrific. He's got to work on these things. He's got 10 fingers. He's got to use them to grab the ball. But other than that, fantastic. I think he allowed zero open. He had 0 open targets, so there was no one open ever when they threw at him. I think they had 1 reception on him, but he was in good coverage. It was just a good catch. But he's going up. He's trying to stop the run and everything like that. But someone mentioned it. Let's see. Travis Jones. We talked about it in the pregame show. I've called him the Ravens' unsung hero because he is a fantastic run stuffer, but also he doesn't get sacks, but he's an elite pass rusher. Like, he moves the pocket. He collapses the pocket so well. He forces quarterbacks to roll out of the pocket, consistently. And for a third round defensive tackle, really getting his first, snaps in the NFL, what the Ravens defense is doing, and every game, this is what they've done. They did it against Mahomes. They did it against Minshew. They did it against Dak. They did it against Josh Allen. They're collapsing the pocket from the interior, and they are usually not getting the sacks because the interior defensive line isn't super fast, but it's Madubuike and Travis Jones. They're forcing the rollout, and the speed on the Ravens' edge is able to either get them right away or chase them into where they have to throw it away. And sometimes we blitz and we stunt and we get, Adafe or Kyle Van Noy up the middle. But the interior pass rush, which is what we were hoping for, with Madubuike getting that huge extension and obviously Travis Jones playing next to him, that is what is setting up Kyle Van Noy and Adafe away to having career years. Kyle Van Noy, 6 sacks in the last 3 games. He's been unbelievable. And Adafe, he's at 3.5 sacks, I think. It's 3 or 3.5
time for third.
Time so for it's third. Like he's out there balling out because the Ravens have put him in a position where now he knows what he needs to do. He seals that edge, and his speed. He hawked Josh Allen down on one of those plays where Josh Allen rolled out. It was where Marlon missed the sack. Marlon blitzed in. Josh Allen was able to kind of push him away. And he starts rolling out, and you see Adafe chase him down and just throw him to the ground because that's what the Ravens have on the edge. Joshua, do you think this pass? What would you give this pass rush? On a grading scale so far through the first 4 games?
Right now, I give it a B plus. I mean, you see David Ojabo getting after that. You see Odafia Way getting after that. I mean, hell, I'm not surprised with Calvin Noe, ever since you put him down in the three technique with his hand in the ground, he's been clearly showing what he contribute. I mean, we definitely thought we was going to lose a step with Jadeveon Clowney, but I think with a younger Yannick Ngakwe, Adisa Isaac, I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Um, He's finally on the active roster. So hopefully, when we start seeing him really get active, we can start seeing that three-headed Nigerian nightmare get out there and put on a show. I believe now. I believe it's going to be the four-headed Nigerian nightmare with Yannick as well now. So it could be a scary sight. It could be a scary sight. That could be something else that also leads us into that postseason because we're going to need that. We're going to need that. I mean, we're going against Joe Burrow next. He's not a mobile quarterback, but I mean, he's a standstill in the pocket type of guy. Their offensive line is not the best. I love to see how these guys are going to line up against them. Don C, appreciate you always coming through. Be safe, getting back home, man. Isn't Don C in Florida? Originally from Florida, I know everything's a lot going on down there. Hope you and your family are safe if you are from Florida, with the hurricanes and everything of that nature. But yeah, right now I'm giving them a B plus. I feel like they're just getting started too, and I love to see how they're going to continue to develop.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think B plus is a pretty fair grade. The other thing that we mentioned in the pregame stream was, I said I hope that the Ravens start getting home on more cornerback blitzes, DB blitzes. And in this game, Josh Allen's the second hardest quarterback to sack in the NFL, I think, behind Lamar Jackson, because he's 6'6", extremely strong and very athletic. But we see Marlon shoot up the middle, and Josh Allen is able to break the tackle, but we still get a sack out of it because Marlon got that quick pressure, forced him outside, and we had that speed on the edge. But these DBs that the Ravens have, I once again, you can't say his name enough, but Kyle Hamilton, I think he's the clear best safety in the NFL. I think he's the only safety in the NFL where every game, almost every play, you're amazed at how good he is because you see him do all these different things, right? He can cover anybody. We've seen him do it before. But you see these plays where they go, Khalil Shakir throw the screen, and Shakir catches it. Roquan Smith, who's on a blitz, notices, gets there, forces Shakir back inside, and then Kyle Hamilton just absolutely lays him out. Like, we have to remember, Kyle Hamilton is a 6'4" safety. He has the body of a what would be considered like a big linebacker. He's a little bit more lean than a typical linebacker, but he's a big safety. And he is hitting guys hard. He's wrapping up. He's driving them into the ground. And I think Roquan Smith had a hit on James Cook that was filthy. I think he absolutely leveled him on one play. They didn't show the replay very much, but he was kind of bouncing off of someone, and Roquan came out of nowhere and put him in the ground so hard. It was probably the second biggest hit of the night behind when Travis Jones took out Josh Allen. That was a pretty filthy hit after the Kyle Van Noy strip. But I think this Ravens defense, every single person on this defense knows it, but you have to make the other team know where you are, know how physical you are, because that's what this entire team is. They're all strong, they're all physical, and they're all going to try and hit you. Whether it's a safety, linebacker, or edge rusher, they all are guys that can go out there and take you out, and they can get you a tackle, they can get you an interception, they can get you a sack. I think Zachary Orr is doing a very nice job against this Bills offense. They were saying that was the highest scoring offense in the league, I believe, going in to face the Ravens. And the Ravens just went in there into the bank and just said, no, it's not happening today. We're going to make your life very difficult. And they did.
Yeah, man. I mean, you definitely love to see that we're getting back to a style of defense where everybody is eating. Wink Martindale, I feel like he took away the true importance of defensive ends, edge rushers. Like those guys are the money makers. Those guys are the bread and butter. Those guys are the guys, that go out there and hit the QB for a living. Those guys that put the QBs out for. I don't like to put it like this, but out for the rest of their career. Lawrence Taylor type guys like that. I mean, I'm just saying. Um, when you think about Baltimore defense, you see the Terrell Suggs, even the Peter Bowers, the Jared Johnsons, the Paul Krugers, Courtney Upshaw when he finally going, start really stepping up into his own. Matthew Judon and Zadarius Smith, they really became forces to be reckoned with when you let the guys play. And I feel like, they letting David Ojabo get up the field. They letting Odafe Wade use his strength. And you can see that the techniques are finally starting to come together. And we do have one of the best edge rushing coaches, D-line coaches in the facility. I still believe so as well. So when you have that, the edge rush whisperer in the facility coaching these young guys, it's like you're feasting. It's like you're salivating. You got 2 racks of ribs in front of you, with the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue, and you just ready to, throw down. So it's glad to see that this defense is getting back to a hostile state. Now, when it comes to that secondary, though, I love that we put Kyle Hamilton everywhere. But a lot of times we see Marlon Humphrey put in situations where he's losing his step. I feel like, because he said it in the summer, he definitely felt like he was going to get moved back to safety. I do feel like, bringing in Eddie Jackson, not going to say a slap to his face or anything of that nature, but I feel like those snaps that Eddie Jackson is in the game should be given to Marlon Humphrey. I feel like Marlon Humphrey would be he would be a more contributor if he was back there playing on the back end and we just actually got another corner. I know we like our hybrid type of athletes, but I mean, at this point, I would put our Darius Washington in the slot and just let him be full ride, do that thing. But I mean, everybody has a method to that madness. It has been working, so I'm not going to try to fix it if it ain't broke.
Yeah, I think that when I'm looking at this Ravens defense and I'm looking at the corners, I would say that Marlon's been their best corner this year. And Brandon Stevens has also been good. Nate Wiggins has looked very good. But Marlon Humphrey looks like he's back at that Pro Bowl form that he used to be at. Now, I don't know if he's necessarily an all-pro Marlowe yet. We'll have to see throughout the rest of the year. If we remember, all-pro Marlowe was the one that he had 9 forced fumbles on the year. That was the fruit punch gone wild that year. That was a fun year. But he's been doing a very good job in coverage this year because last year he had struggled. He wasn't as good. Like, he wasn't bad. Marlon Humphrey's never been a bad corner, but he wasn't the same player last year. Mm-hmm. And this year, if he hadn't been playing well at corner, it'd be like, okay, maybe, try and get him back up there. But he's playing man coverage against all these different types of guys. And his speed isn't what it used to be. He used to be able to keep up with absolutely anybody. Now it's like, you don't really want him on a Tyreek or a Waddle or, a Jameson Williams of sorts. But he can go against the physical guys. He can go against the slot guys. And he's going to make plays for you. Eddie Jackson, I think just over top, I think it works. But I will say, I do agree. I think our Darius Washington should be getting a little bit more snaps because he's been very, very good. I think it was in the Raiders game, he looked excellent. Mm-hmm. And then I think he also looked pretty good in that Cowboys game. And I would like to see him more. Now, I get why we're not using him as much. It's hard for him to stop the run because he's so undersized.
Yeah.
But I think every pass situation if the Ravens should just rock as their secondary. They should have Marlon, Brandon Stevens, Nate Wiggins, or Darius Washington, and then Marcus Williams, and then Kyle Hamilton probably put him as, the will linebacker, or, you could put him as the Sam linebacker, or you could, put him wherever. But I think throwing Ardarius in the slot, or even just throwing him out wide, he was covering guys out wide as well. He can do it. This was a guy that people thought he was an expected like 4th round pick before the combine happened, and everyone's like, oh, he's even shorter than we thought. But like when we got him, remember, he was the number 1 UDFA. Like everyone wanted him, and we got him. I hopefully his career is similar to Geno Stone's, where he didn't make the roster a couple of times, or Darius Washington. He battled back through the practice squad. Now it seems like, hey, he's a consistent player on this defense. But I think if you give him his shot and giving him more snaps, give him those Eddie Jackson snaps, he's gonna show you why he's been working so hard. He's a playmaker out there. I haven't really seen any Eddie Jackson plays, but at the same time, I haven't seen many like Eddie Jackson like big mistakes. Like when Eddie Jackson is on the screen, it's like, oh, he's in good coverage. Like, yeah, they might have made a catch or it was a bad throw, but Eddie Jackson's not looking bad. But I think our Darius Washington is a playmaker. He's had some very good plays already this year. I'd like to see more of that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm about to say, we constantly getting asked that type of question in so many different ways. Connor, I mean, who's out there that you would probably add onto either offense or defense? Talk to me.
I'm going to say not Patrick Queen. So shout out to all the fans that were like, man, we lost Patrick Queen. Our defense is going to get so much worse. And the Steelers fans like, oh, we got him. And every Ravens fan, when Patrick Queen went to the Steelers, was like, nice. We get to play him. Because it was like Patrick Queen's not a terrible player. But we said it when we got Roquan Smith. It's like playing with Roquan, it works. When you're not playing with Roquan, the errors are magnified because you don't have a player like Roquan Smith that's such a big playmaker. But I think I would probably go. I'd probably go receiver. Honestly, I was thinking edge rusher, but I think this Ravens defense is good enough with the pass rush, and we just added Yannick. But I think I'd go receiver, and not even like I'm not gonna say Devante, because obviously I'm not gonna say Hopkins, because we're not gonna have the money for that. I'm thinking like a wide receiver 3 that pushes Nelson Aguilar down on the depth chart, or maybe even a wide receiver 2 that maybe slides in with Bateman, but maybe a guy like an Alan Lazard, or I think Alan Lazard would probably be my guy. Because the Jets, a lot of people think they're going to get Devante Adams. So if they do, Lazard slides down on that depth chart. Also, Mike Williams slides down on the depth chart. So I would say one of those 2 guys, Lazard or Mike Williams, on if the Jets would trade one, because why would you have Lazard, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, and Devante Adams if they go after him? So those would be my options. We don't have the money to pay a big time receiver, but what would you do? Where would you go? And are there any names you'd like to add?
I'm definitely going to go ahead and buy into the consensus of the flock. I think I would either go Devante Adams or D Hop, just for the simple fact that you can have another name, another threat, whether he still got it or not. Me personally, I think if we're going to go with a guy that still has it, it would be Devante Adams for me. It would I feel like it will open up so much more for that wide receiver room if we were to go ahead and continue to expand those passing plays. Like I said, the way this engine is building up steam, it looked like it cannot be stopped. But if it were to be stopped, to have that veteran savvy wide receiver, to have these young guys learn from another veteran wide receiver that's still on the more upward trajectory of his career, I think that would propel those young guys in that wide receiver room. because of right now, I don't know what's going on. We're on the outside looking in. I don't know what's going on with Tez Walker. I mean, we brought him in supposedly to be the deep threat, and I don't know if it's an injury. I don't know if it's practice, whatever the case may be. He's still an
I think
inactive
it's
guy.
injury.
Okay, so so I mean, the only real issue about the whole Devante Adams and D Hop situation is the money. So if they were to find a magical way to move funds around and be able to pay that guy, by all means, I'd be open to giving him a spot here on the bottom of Ravens and give him a possibility of getting to a championship. Because I think this offense is maybe one piece away. So, like you said, that defense is fine, in my opinion. We're getting guys back. I mean, hell, we got one waiting to get on the field, TJ Tampa. And I feel like even when he finally gets his time to shine, I feel like he's going to really show out. And not to take anybody's spot or anything of that nature, but to be an additional piece to that secondary. So that's who I would probably look into.
Yeah, I think if we had another receiver, right? Like, who knows? I don't want to project too far out, but this next draft class, there is a lot of really good receivers. There's also a lot of really good running backs. I don't think we'll take a running back. I mean, maybe we would like round 7, but like receiver wise, there's some big, like, there's going to be guys all throughout the round, right? Like T-Mac out of Arizona's he's probably going to go top 10. But then there's guys like Egbuka. There's guys like Burden in Missouri. Stanford's got Eligaya Manor. Like there's just a ton of guys coming out. Obviously, Travis Hunter. Depending on if he plays wide receiver, corner, both. We don't know. I highly doubt the Ravens are picking where Travis Hunter would be available. But if he goes out there and says, "I'll only play for the Ravens," then hey, maybe we got a shot. Because he might say he'll only play for 5 teams. But we'll see about that. But I just think that like it's hard to make a move right now. Right? Obviously, like Devante Adams has requested the trade. So like he's going to be the name. D-Hop makes less. I would not be shocked if D-Hop got moved to Baltimore. I think we could make that money work. I don't think he has like too big of a contract. I want to say it's only like $10 million a year. Which is much more feasible. Devante Adams is like 25 or 30 million. Like, and Devante Adams got screwed. He went to play with his college BFF, and then his BFF got traded or left. And he's like, wait, now I'm playing with this trash quarterback and like horrible offense. Like, what are we doing? But the Ravens, I think, if they got a receiver, I think it would be more frustrating than anything else because they wouldn't get the ball. Like, we have elite weapons. Mark Andrews is elite. Isaiah Likely is elite. Zay Flowers is elite in open space, right? Like, we have these guys. Every game, like 2 of them aren't involved at all. And it doesn't feel like, oh man, the passing game sucked because they weren't involved. It's like this last week, Mark Andrews wasn't involved. Zay Flowers wasn't involved. Bateman had 1 catch, and it was like, this pass game's insane because Justice Hill is going off, right? He catches the wheel route. He catches a bunch of screen passes. Isaiah Likely gets 1 reception, but this passing game works very well. Lamar Jackson is completing a high percentage of passes, and it's not even like it's passes that are bad throws that he's missing. It's like dropped passes or throwaways. He did have 1 bad throw against the Bills. Nelson Aguilar almost had the most insane catch of his life. He went up like Michael Jordan catching that ball. Was able to luckily knock it down so it wasn't intercepted. But, I really like what these weapons can do because the other thing about them is they've all very clearly bought in to what the Ravens are trying to do on offense. Which is run the football. And they're all willing blockers. They're all willing because you have to block on screenplays, right? So like Zay Flowers probably isn't as into the blocking as like a guy like Rashad Bateman. But Zay is, he's running the motion. He's the decoy. Sometimes we hand it to him on a sweep or a reverse. but a lot of times we play action. Sometimes we throw in the screen. So we're trying to get these guys involved. I think if we added another receiver, it would almost be too many mouths to feed, because as good as Devante and D-Hop are, that's almost like a negative, because now we know how receivers are. They're going to demand the ball. And I'm sorry, but I don't think there's a player in the NFL that I would give the ball to before Derrick Henry. Like, I don't care. I don't care if you got Tyreek Hill. You're establishing the run first, like with Derrick Henry. So like that's just my thought process. Like if we got him, I don't think it'd be a bad thing. But
no, definitely not mad at that take. I mean, just like I said, like I'm thinking about it down the road. I mean, of course, if you want to play, I feel like if you're going to try to mimic someone's game, at least put out your best pieces. I feel like an additional D-Hop or Devante Adams would give us that better chance, that better look. So I mean, I definitely feel like we shouldn't be getting away from what's going to get us to the playoffs. But McConaughey, you and I both know, under John Harbaugh's tutelage and coaching and leadership, we've always gone away from what's gotten us to the playoffs. And if that's going to be the case this year, give me some of the best pieces out there, and let's mimic the other team and beat them at their own game.
Yeah. And I want to put out there, I think this gets drastically overlooked. At the time, John Harbaugh nearly blew the biggest lead in Super Bowl history. Like, I think we forget that we were a goal line touchdown away from the Ravens blowing 28-6. I think that's what the score was. I think the Ravens won 31-28 or something like that, because there was the safety. It ended up being kind of a weird score, but like the Ravens nearly blew the biggest lead in Super Bowl history. And like nobody talks about that with like John Harbaugh, because we won it. But like that game literally came down to the goal line, and we kicked it off to Ted Ginn Jr. After we took the intentional safety, which I will give him credit. Brother of Jim did invent something in the NFL. It did get banned, but he did invent the hold everybody and take the punter safety. I got to give him props for that, because that is a brother of Jim Harbaugh invention. But it got banned after the Ravens did it against the Bengals one time. Everyone's like, wait a minute. They wasted like 25 seconds on this play. Yeah. We can't be doing that. But props to him there. This is a good question. Should Makari stay as starting guard or still put Voorhees when he comes back? Honestly, I think we have Voorhees play. Voorhees has looked phenomenal. And the benefit of Makari is, if any player on the offensive line goes down in a game, knock on wood,
plug him right in.
He can play it. He can play center. He can play guard. He can play tackle. He's worst at tackle. He's best at guard. But I think the improvement Daniel Faalele has shown, I think he deserves to be out there, because the first 2 weeks were bad. But the last 2 weeks have been like fantastic. So, I don't really want to like pull him out and have him lose confidence. This is something that takes time. And I don't think Makari's getting any better. Rosengarten can get better. He's a rookie. Voorhees, he's essentially a rookie. He can get better. And there's also Faalele's first year starting. He can get better. But Makari's been in the league for years. He's been a starter at like all these positions. And Ronnie's fantastic and Linderbaum's fantastic. So I as much as I like Makari, and I thought week one we should have rolled out Makari at guard, I feel like they've done a good job. And I don't want to use him as starter. But what do you think?
Yeah, right now I think Daniel Daniel, I'm not about to hurt myself tonight. I think it's his job to lose right now. He's been, like you said, he's been working out. He's been getting better. He's been getting stronger in these last 2 games. So I definitely feel like, it's his job to lose. I do want to see Voorhees back. I do feel like when Voorhees come back from injury, he is back. Makari is that Swiss Army knife that you need on that offensive line. No, I do not like him at tackle. Center, he was okay. Was he the one that cut his thumb when he was playing center at one point? I
Yes, I
believe.
believe so.
Okay. And interior and playing in the interior, he's a stronger guy. He's a stronger and he looks more comfortable playing in that interior offensive line. So I would love to see him on the field, but at the same time, it's like, hey, um, it's time for these young guys to roll. It's time for these young guys to roll. I mean, Tyler Linderbaum, he got about two 2 years under his belt, three, just about.
Yes,
Um,
2 years.
okay, but he's playing down there like a 10-year, 12-year vet, and he has the IQ, he has that tenacity that we need at that center position. He doesn't mind, getting his brothers right. You got that veteran in Ronnie Stanley um, on that premier left tackle position. And shout out to him. Knock on wood. I hope he does not get injured this year. He's been looking great. He's been looking great. I don't know how many pressures that he's given up, but from the games that I have been watching, it doesn't look like it's been a lot. And I know it's early, but he's looking like perennial Pro Bowl Ronnie before the money came in.
Yeah. Yeah, he's bounced back very well. Remember, last year was his first year starting in a couple of years, and he got off to a slow start. But hopefully, he's able to, knock on wood, maintain that level of play. It's been about an hour. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, not really. I mean, other than the fact, hey, listen, it's Tuesday. I know it's rainy. I don't know if it's really rainy where you at, McConnell, but it's been rainy as hell here in Baltimore, man. Um, it's been a good week. It's victory week. Let's get ready for Cincy. Get ready for these AFC North games, and let's come out with some dubs. Let's come out healthy.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more. And we'll see all of you again next time.